Launched last year, Thule is the Dutch microbrand's sixth and latest offering in a stunning collection of retro-inspired pieces put together in a 10-year-long lifespan that makes Aevig one of Europe's established microbrands. As the two models I was loaned in for review share as many features as there are differences between them, I will have the sports watch handy, fresh off its impressive victory against the Brew Retromatic in the TV dial duel I premiered a few weeks ago. However, this is the review of the GMT variant of the model. At 39 by 48mm measurement, the muscular case of the Thule is anything but understated, and at first glance might paint it as an angular monolith, yet a closer look reveals that every line and every corner are smoothed out by clever beveling, taming its brutalist severity. For the GMT version, Cheap UN decided to offer a bead-blasted finish as an alternative to the satin brushing of the three-hander, to a spectacular result. The watch looks and, more importantly, feels premium, as the warmer sensation one gets when touching the titanium as opposed to the steel is matched visually for a sensorial delight that's not impeded by the coating that takes its scratch resistance up to 1200 Vickers. Aesthetically, it's quite obvious that the case is designed to be the backdrop to its gorgeous dials that seem almost carved in. Despite that, I find it impressive that the angles Cheap UN has chosen, especially in the upper third, manage to create depth without resorting to alternating finishes, and from this point of view, Thule's case design is on par with the one of the Wyza Damascus 88. The case back is held in place by 4 screws and gives this watch a respectable 100 meters of water resistance in combination with a signed screwed down crown. The crown size and especially placement might be my only criticism, as it almost feels like an afterthought. However, I can understand that in order to create the incredible depth of the dial, the top part had to be taller, so that's a compromise I accept, particularly as it doesn't really impact the flow while on the wrist. The caliber powering this GMT variant of the watch is Seiko's NH34. I will use this watch in a future video dedicated to comprehensively explaining the difference between the two types of GMT watches, so today I'll only give you a rather general set of information about setting and using it. Before that, though, we have to talk about the star of the show. The fantastic dial and the great set of hands and markers this watch shares with the other colorways in both variants it can be bought. It's not easy to beat Brew when it comes to dials, yet the three-hander blue variant managed to do so in the duel I hosted a few weeks back. The dynamism of the blue sunburst fume of that watch finds a match in the depth of the richer, heavier Merlot that gives this timepiece a unique flavor very much in tune with its overall 70s vintage vibe. This darker color seems to carry a bit more weight than the blue, but the hues it takes under strong sunshine make it pop just as much. While I'm not a big fan of the 3 o'clock date window setup, its integration is flawless, as it's quite easy to forget it's there. The heavier burgundy red makes the steep rehaut less spectacular than the blue dial by offering slightly less contrast, and gives the silver markers in the hands a slight golden hue. Legibility-wise, the multifaceted hands and markers do a fantastic job of catching the slightest sliver of light. The beautifully printed text seems to pop just a bit more and gets an additional line in the form of the yellow GMT abbreviation. While the 12 additional hour markers are well integrated in the overall layout, by wearing the watch I reached the conclusion the orange GMT hand doesn't stand out enough against this particular Merlot dial, making reading the secondary time harder than it should. So, what is a GMT watch and how should it be used? First of all, it should be noted that being powered by the NH34, this is what's commonly known as a collar GMT. This means that the first quickset position of the crown is dedicated to operating the GMT hand, so I can remotely set and observe the time in a geographical place situated thousands of kilometers away by looking at where the GMT hand points on the 24 hours sub-dial under the flat beveled AR-coated sapphire crystal. Moving the crown to the second quickset position, it will hack the movement, which means the second's hand will stop and I will be able to set the time in my current location, while the GMT hand, being slave to the main hour hand, will move accordingly. If you would like to get more information on how to use the GMT function and why this is a collar GMT as opposed to a traveler or true GMT, my invitation is to subscribe to the channel, as I will soon publish an in-depth comparison between the two types. Although the C3 superluminous compound applied on the hands and indices of the Thule ensures good, lasting legibility, the lack of its application on the GMT hand and markers renders this useful complication useless in the dark, an aspect I'm not particularly happy with. The bead-blasted finish of the bracelet completes the toolish looks of the case and is replicated on the stainless steel clasp that might be slightly dated, but is very well executed, safe and comfortable. Despite the lack of taper, the bracelet looks anything but clunky due to an inspired design that seems to replicate the TV dial theme of the watch. The end links fit perfectly between the lugs, whose long, angular, almost pointy shapes remind me of the Millennium Falcon. Just as the blue three-hander, this watch looks just as good on leather as it looks on metal and sits beautifully on my 19cm wrist. I admit to liking the bead-blasted version better on the bracelet and the satin brushed on the leather. Wearability is class-leading due to the titanium construction, and the numbers confirm the sensations. On its bracelet, adjusted to my 7.5-inch wrist, the watch weighs just under 110 grams, while on leather its weight is a feather-like 65 grams. At $590 plus tax where applicable, this is one of the pricier NH34 powered watches on the market, but I would rather say that it's the materials used, the quality of the finishing and the great originality of it that make it stand out and justify its price tag. Also, if a GMT function is not on your list of priorities, you can opt for the classic three-hander at $475 plus tax, with the downside that the only available finish is the satin brushed. Taking a page from a famous car reviewer, here comes the verdict. Should you avoid it, consider it, shortlist it, or just go ahead and buy the Aevig Thule? I think, especially if you're on the market for a TV dial or a titanium-made Gada watch, you should shortlist it. There aren't many watches that would fit one of the two big characteristics of the watch. On one hand, when it comes to TV dials, the big name on the horizon is the Mido Big Date, but that's twice as expensive and is made of plain, boring stainless steel. On the other hand, the best known brand producing unscratchable titanium watches is RCE, and their price range overlaps Aevig's, so the purchase decision comes down to aesthetics. I'd like to read your thoughts on the matter, so drop a comment below. Thank you for watching.